All right, so today we are talking about one of the most important things that you can talk about really when it comes to filling an event or speaking on stages or marketing yourself in any way. And that is, and mainly I'm going to be talking about why some of your workshops aren't filling if you're doing workshops, which honestly is one of the best ways to attract your clients and get yourself out there. And one of the biggest problems people have, coaches have, is to fill their workshops. And so today I'm going to talk about something that really doesn't have anything to do or has very little to do with your topic or your expertise or even the content in your workshop. Because sometimes we think the people aren't coming because of the topic or because of the content itself. Or maybe you start thinking, well, I must not be very good at this, or people don't want to hear what I have to say. But what I'm talking about today is this one thing, and that is your messaging. Often our messaging is too vague. And that can be true not only to fill workshops, but with everything you're doing in your business. And the tricky part is most coaches don't realize that they're doing it. And I know because I've done it too, and way too often. Um, just a little story. My birthday is this month, in a couple weeks actually, and my husband recently asked me for a wish list. And I have a hard time with that because I never feel like I need anything. And if I want something, I just go out and get it for myself. But I thought, well, I'll give him a list so he can get me something. And I gave him a short list, earrings, a skirt, and maybe some workout equipment, exercise equipment. And I thought, okay, I'm done. And he comes back later with some questions like, well, what kind of earrings do you want? Do you want loop earrings or post earrings, colored? What do you want here? Do you want dangly earrings, short earrings? And then what color skirt do you want? What style? And exercise equipment, what do you want? Do you want hand weights? Do you want stretchy bands or balls or like, what do you want? So I realized my message to him was way too vague. I knew what I meant, but of course he didn't. And this is exactly what happens when we are trying to market our workshops or anything that we're doing is that we are too vague. We know what we're talking about, but our ideal audience, the people that we're talking to, don't really know. So we can create workshop titles and descriptions, and they make complete sense to us. And maybe we're putting these messages on a landing page or even a Zoom background or anything, right? And then posts on social media. But our audience is left confused because they really don't know. First of all, is this for me? That's one of the first things they want to know. Is this for me? Does this solve my problem? Number two. And number three, is this what I've been looking for? That's what they want to know. And so if your messaging is too vague and it's not speaking to their problem, if it's not speaking to what they're looking for, specifically, they won't register. They won't take action. Confused people don't buy. Confused people don't take action. They don't register for your workshops. So, and this is something that you could write down and put in front of you on your computer or wherever you're working on your messaging, just to remind yourself. So write this down. Specific people with specific problems buy specific solutions. So we're talking about being specific today. Specific people with specific problems buy specific solutions. They don't buy generic, and most of us don't have generic problems. Your audience is not stopping on your post. They're scrolling right on by, and they're not opening your emails, and they're not clicking on your registration links, or even if they do end up on your landing page, they're not taking action to register, more than likely because there's something in your messaging that isn't speaking specifically to them. To answer those three questions: is this for me? Will it solve my problem? And is this what I'm looking for? So, they're looking for relief. They're looking for solutions. They're looking for results. They're looking for hope. They want to know, can you help me stop struggling with this specific problem? Can you get me this specific result? So I want to do a quick experiment. And those of you that are sitting in the Zoom room with me right now, you can do this with me. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, you can do this while watching the video. but I'd love to have you come to the Zoom room live with us every Monday. We're here. So the first thing is I'm going to read two workshop titles. I want you to tell me in the chat which one grabs your attention more. All right, ready? Is everybody ready there in the Zoom room? Are we ready to go? Yeah. Okay. So the first one is Become a Better Parent. A more specific one would be 3 ways to reduce daily meltdowns and create calmer routines with your special needs child. Which one of those is going to speak to a specific person with a specific problem with a specific solution? Right? Let's see, the second one. Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you think about somebody that has a special needs child, and I actually have a client who works in that niche, and she's very specific, and that's why she's doing really well, because her people have even within the special needs community, it's even more specific. It's a certain type of special needs. So those people, those parents that are looking for help with that particular kind of they have that particular kind of special needs with their child, that's what they're looking for. And if they see a coach that says, I help with parents, I'm a parent coach and I help parents, with their child's behavior or whatever, or become a better parent, that's not going to grab them because they're looking for somebody to help them with that specific problem. And when they find that, they're going to pay attention. They're going to come to that person's workshop. They're going to buy their product or their program because it's giving them what they really want. Here's another one. How to have difficult conversations without shutting down, exploding, or avoiding the issue. And the second one might be improve communication skills. So which one between those two? Number one. Exactly. Right? It's so specific. It's not talking about just communication skills in general, but a certain type of communication skill. And it also talks about the outcome, right? It also speaks to the problem and to the result that the people want that are struggling with difficult conversations. They don't want shutting down, and they don't want exploding, and they don't want to avoid. So it's very specific. It's going to attract them. And here's one more. Feel more empowered. Or how to say no without guilt so you can finally stop overcommitting yourself. Right? Number two, because empowerment, and don't we hear this a lot? And maybe some of you even say it. I know a lot of coaches will say, I'm an empowerment coach. I empower women to be better or to find their best selves or to live their best life. Or you've heard that before, right? I help leaders lead their team. You know, I help leaders be uh, more efficient at work or something like that. Um, those are really generic and common. People say them all the time. And so what we're talking about here today is if you can get more specific with your workshop power. I was looking at the chat. I'm trying my best not to use the word empower anymore. Yeah, that's overused. There's so many words overused, and we actually have to tell AI when we're using it not to use certain words because they're just, you could tell. So that's a good point. Take a word that you've been using that you know is overused, like empower, or um, uh, things like, well, even, leadership or finding your purpose or um, finding your best self. Those kinds of things have been used so much. And what do they mean? What do you even mean by that? So if you're, say, working with women and you want to help them be more empowered, maybe the issue is they're not saying no, they're saying yes to everybody, and they feel guilty when they take care of themselves. So speak to that. Maybe they want to know how to speak up for themselves so they can do what they want to do instead of always overcommitting themselves because they're afraid to say no. That's more specific. And a lot of times people don't want to get super specific. And I'm curious what you guys would say is the number one reason why people are afraid, coaches are especially, shy away from being too specific with their niche and with their messaging. What's the number one reason that coaches don't want to do that? Anybody know? Put it in the chat if you know. It is, I don't see anything in the chat. Maybe you're waiting for the answer. They think they'll exclude their audience. Exactly. That is the number one reason. Kenneth got it. He got the prize. They want to appeal to everyone, Lori said. Yes, that is the thing. I'm going to leave money on the table. I'm going to leave people out. There's going to be people that don't come to me or hire me because I'm too specific. And what if that isn't exactly their need? And that's a legitimate concern. So we have to get really clear on what it is we help people with specifically so that we are attracting the right people. And that's key. Like I was talking about my client a minute ago who works with special needs kids, and it's a very specific type of special needs because she has a daughter who has this, and she had to learn how to work with her daughter and how to help her daughter learn and communicate because she's a nonverbal child. And so she did her own homework. The mother did, my client, on the neurology behind it and how to teach her daughter to communicate. And she came up with her own curriculum and everything. So she knows who she wants to help, and it's very specific. So that it starts with us getting clear on who it is that we want to help and how do we want to help them specifically so that we attract the right people. And then you don't have to worry about whether you're going to leave people out. So I think when people say that, we are I'm going to exclude people, I'm going to leave people out, the root to that problem that they're having is that they don't know who they specifically want to help and how they specifically want to help them. So here's another big mistake the coaches make along that line is in our messaging is that we start to market to what we know our people need, and all of our messaging is speaking to the need, what they really need, instead of what they really want. And you know the old saying, right? You sell them what they need and you sell them what they want, but you give them what they need. And that's very key. You sell them what they want. So your messaging is speaking to what they want. And then once they hire you and they start working with you, then you can give them what you know they need in order to get what they want. But most people don't know what they really need. They just know what they want. Does that make sense? So here's some examples. Your audience might need healing. They might need inner healing around something from the past, or maybe they need mindset work, or they need boundaries in their life, like the woman that can't say no to anybody. Maybe they need nervous system regulation. Most people aren't laying awake at night at 3 a.m. in the morning thinking, I need nervous system regulation. Maybe they need confidence. They might be thinking, I need confidence, but specifically confidence for what, right? And what kind of confidence? And where in your life do you need confidence? There's a lot to unpack with even that one word. But what they really want, what they're probably laying awake at 3 a.m. thinking is, how do I stop feeling exhausted all the time? How do I stop yelling at my kids? How do I stop from people pleasing and doing what everybody else wants me to do? How do I get more respect at work? How can I ask for that promotion and not feel awkward about it? How do I feel calm instead of upset and nervous all the time and anxious? That's what they're thinking about. How do I stop arguing with my partner? Or how do I get my kids to do what I want them to do? Like those are the things they're thinking about. So your messaging should speak to that. And then once they hire you, you definitely can say, in order for us to get you to that result, we need to do some inner healing or we need to do some mindset shift work, right? We need to set some boundaries. That's where you start to give them what they need in order to get what they want. But your messaging needs to speak to what they want. So I want you to take a second here and think about your own workshops that you're doing, or maybe your own topic that you coach on, or your own messaging that you're putting out there. And write down a piece of paper. What is your audience, your ideal audience? What do they actually need? And you probably off the top of your head could quickly write down what they need. I know for my audience, they need confidence in speaking. They need to understand marketing better. They need to understand messaging better. They need to know how to put a workshop together. They need a lot of things, right? They need some tech set up, but write down what your audience needs These are the things that you know they need. And then write down, maybe make a second column and write down, what do they actually want? What are they saying that they want? And if you don't know what they're saying, you need to do some market research and find out what they're saying. We need to know what our audience is saying. And usually the want statement is far more specific, compelling, and emotional than the need statement. For example, they might need better stress management, but they might say to you, when you say, what do you really need? They're going to tell you what they want. I want to stop waking up at 3 a.m. worrying about everything, right? Or maybe they need to develop their leadership skills, but they say to you, I want to feel confident speaking up in meetings without second guessing myself. So in order for them to do that, they need to develop leadership skills. You see how this goes? Or they might need health coaching, but what they say to you is, I want to have energy at the end of the day and stop collapsing on the couch in the middle of the afternoon. So that's the language. The want language is what will fill your workshop. And so just remember, if your workshops aren't filling, it may not be because your workshop itself is bad. The topic could be great. The content could be wonderful. The offer you make could be perfect. But it could just be your messaging, your audience isn't clearly seeing themselves in your message that is out there yet. They're not seeing, is it for me? Is it going to solve my problem? And is this what I've been looking for? Clarity creates connection and specificity builds trust. When you're specific, it actually builds trust because people think, oh, he gets me. She gets me. That's exactly what I need. And clear messaging is going to get you registrations and getting people to actually show up because they want to know what it is you're about to talk about. They want to know the answer to their problem. And this is one of the biggest things that we are going to help coaches with in my 3-day event coming up in July. It's called Endless Enrollments Live. And it's all about creating a six-figure business with a workshop system, basically. And so we're going to dive deep into not only how a workshop system fits into a bigger into the bigger business model and how that helps you scale to six figures and beyond, but we're also going to talk about your messaging, and we're going to talk about how to get clear on who it is you're talking to and how to talk to them. So we're going to help you clarify your message. We're going to help you structure your workshop. We're going to help you position your offer inside of your workshop so that people are like, hey, yeah, raise my hand. I want that, which is how you can create a system out of it. Because if you're running it regularly and it works and people are signing up, then guess what? You're getting clients. So it becomes a repeatable enrollment system that will consistently attract high quality, right fit clients. So I hope you'll come. There's a free admission. It's July 22nd to 24th. And if you're tired of inconsistent enrollments and vague messaging, then this is perfect for you. We'll help you fix that. And you can just sign up now at endlessenrollmentslive.com. And I will put that link in here for you guys in the chat. We'll put it in the show notes below. It's going to be a great time. So while I'm doing this, endlessenrollmentslive.com. I would love to hear from anybody here in the Zoom room. Any questions you have or comments about messaging? Are you having struggles with that? And if so, maybe you have some suggestions for people yourself. You can come right up and raise your hand and let me know what you think. Go ahead, Greta.
Yes, thank you so much. That's a great way to explain it. It's like what they need and what they want. So yeah, thank you for that. I don't think I've heard it explained in that way. I've heard people say, have the problem with me with my leadership development. I think sort of sometimes the sticking point is everything that I'm focusing on is, I think, what every, I think every leadership team needs. So it's kind of being
Yeah.
specific about the audience because I focus specifically on a lot of the interpersonal dynamics and like the foundational, like trust building, building respect, cultural competency. And I feel like those are like essential building blocks. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's sort of like, who's your audience? And it's like, well, it's like,
Yeah.
well, I think all teams and
All the
all
leaders,
leaders.
all the teams. Yeah.
So sometimes I do struggle with that a bit because I'm like, I'm not sure if anybody would say, "Oh, I don't need that to be a better communicator or to build trust with my team." I don't think any leader would say that. So sometimes I do get stuck with that. I
Hmm.
do focus on and say mission-driven organizations, organizations that, want to build psychological safety. But other than that, I'm kind of stuck sometimes to say who specifically because I'm kind of like what you're saying.
Hmm.
Maybe I'm thinking about it from a need versus want perspective.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody has any feedback about that.
Yeah. Are you talking about specific leaders, being specific about the type of leaders or the type of organizations, maybe, or
Yeah, I've said mission-driven organizations,
okay.
ones that, focus a lot on, yeah, building like inclusive cultures, but still, I'm not
Mhm.
sure if that gets specific enough. But that's where I'm at with it sometimes, where I'm like, they're like,
Well, I
who's
think
your
even if you said, mission driven, do you say mission driven organizations or mission driven leaders?
mission-driven organizations, leaders who want to build, trust and cultures, inclusive cultures in their
Yeah,
team.
I think
So,
that's more specific right there than
yeah.
just saying, you work with teams and leaders. So that's good. I mean, that tells me a whole lot more.
Mhm.
When you said that, I was like, oh yeah, now I get it. So include that in your messaging. And then the other thing would be to talk to them and ask them, you know, what do you really want, or what are your top frustrations, fears, challenges
Mhm.
around this, working with your team? And if they say communication, say, tell me more. Specifically, what do you mean? And then they're going to give you more. And it's like getting down to the what I call street language, which is like, to the specific like daily challenges that would happen on a day-to-day basis. Like when we're having a meeting, they don't come prepared, or uh, one person will take over and talk and talk and talk and not really listen. That's where you start to get specific, the specific examples of things that
Mhm.
is happening where the communication with the team is sort of the broad covering over it. But when you start talking about the specific problems they're having, maybe with one or two team members, then you use that, you sprinkle that and weave that into your messaging. Like questions like, do you have that one team member that won't stop talking, or something like that? Those kinds of things are what will grab people's attention. So that's when you get more specific. Yes, everybody needs this. Everybody needs, in my opinion, coaching in general. But they're going to pay attention when you're speaking to that level. So I think you have it. It's just when you're talking about communication, especially if you get their words around what specifically are you struggling with communication and start using those words, you'll probably see a difference in how people respond or if they sign up. When you're marketing, I don't know, how do you market yourself?
Mostly through LinkedIn
Mhm.
and Instagram now, and also too, I do like free like webinars, um, and I mark, and then yeah, and I do like LinkedIn. I'll take a very specific thing, like you were saying, like
Yeah,
sometimes if there's a conflict built on the concept of respect and what respect looks like and how that may differ based on your cultural background. And
yeah,
and so I try to get very specific in these are the kind of ways that I addressed, respect and how I address, the different areas that I focus on. It's not just a universal respect, but like what does that look like and
yeah,
how does that play out in the workplace and how we may
exactly.
blame each other or misunderstand each other. So
Yeah,
those are the
yeah,
things I do. Mhm.
yeah. And if you can give examples of that, that makes it really specific because people are like, oh yeah, that just happened. Uh, maybe team members are not listening and they're yelling at each other and getting into an argument or something. That's an example of, lack of trust and respect. And, what does that look like? Maybe it's people aren't, I don't know. I'm not in corporate, so I'm just guessing, but maybe they're in a meeting and or they're late. They're late all the time, you know. That's so if you dial that down, dial it into those things, even as you're promoting your webinars, as you're putting posts on LinkedIn, you can pick one thing out, one small thing, and do a whole post just on that. Kind of like what I'm doing here today. There's a lot more I talk about when it comes to creating workshops as a client attraction system for coaches, right? I'm just focused on one. So you could take little pieces out and do little posts and articles on just a specific area, and you'll start to attract more. And then when it comes to your webinar titles, the more specific, the better, how to build trust and respect um, with your team so that that would be a good workshop title instead of just communication skills. See what I mean? Yeah.
Mhm. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Awesome. I'll have
Thank
to
you.
connect with you on LinkedIn.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? I'd love to know what you guys do. Um, let's I know we're out of time, but let's take a minute here and just do a quick round of networking, and everybody just kind of share what you do and what you're looking for as far as support or collaboration. Lori, you want to go? There you go.
I was quickly going to get my messaging and put it in, but then you said, "Lori, do you want to go?" I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to go." So
Cool.
I support midlife women who come to that time in their life and say, "Oh my gosh, what's happening now? I've built my career. I might be retired. I might be coming to retirement, and I'm starting to second guess myself. I'm starting to question what's next." So my work is about meeting them where they're at and helping them to trust themselves more. And we do it through nervous system regulation. We do it through I offer a vibroacoustic healing where you lay on a bed and you
Hmm.
feel the frequency. We do it through meditation.
Hmm.
I have many paths to come into my community.
Awesome.
So
Good.
that's what I do.
Wonderful. That used to be my audience when I first started. My tagline used to be I work with women 40 plus who want to quit their day job and do what they really want.
Yeah. And
Well,
and I'm not asking, yeah, you're more supporting people in business and I'm more supporting
now I
people.
am. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
And mine is, I have people that are still working. I have people that are retired. My focus is midlife. So I
Hmm.
would say 45 to 60, 65. But it's amazing how many 20 and 30-year-olds
Yeah.
have started following me. But
Mhm.
I don't target them, but they're feeling the same things because we
Sure.
live in a constant fight or flight,
Yeah.
a crazy society right now. And, people are just grasping at straws.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. That's why I used to, when I started, I did 50 plus, and then I had a bunch of women 40 come in their 40s coming to me. I'm like, oh, well, why would I cut them out? So
right,
it's not so much of the age as it is your messaging. If your messaging is clear,
right.
you'll attract the
When
right
I have
people.
one gal who's in her early 30s and she goes, "Well, I could be midlife. Am I going to live to 65? I don't know that. This could be my midlife, and I need to take the right path right now."
That's right.
So, yeah, you never know. So that midlife is not,
Yeah.
it's open to perspective.
Yeah. And a lot of people use that. So just a suggestion, you might want to think about not saying midlife, but using more the words around what they really want.
Yeah.
You
And that's
probably,
part of my messaging too.
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes I just say women who are going through transition.
yeah. But there's all
That's
kinds of
another
different
phrase that I,
yeah, but
right. And then I'll
transition.
say, are you experiencing grief, trauma,
Hmm.
a change in, your career? There's so many
Hmm.
different transitions. And
Right. And that's what I
yeah,
mean
and
about
I,
specificity, though. You need to be specific about which transition are you talking about if you want to attract more people. And I know it's
right.
hard to choose because you can help all of them, but when you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. So you could pick one
That's right.
and just zero in on that. that
When I
transition.
think my transition is you're coming up on retirement or you've
Mhm.
retired. And
Yeah.
that's a huge transition.
Yeah.
And that's what I focus on. Though, again, people come to me and they're not at that point, or they
Yeah.
are changing a career, but they're 35.
Yeah.
So,
So you don't need to change your messaging just because they're coming to you. It's the
exactly.
messaging. You stick to it because that becomes your brand. That's what you become known for. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, good job. Awesome. What about you, Cynthia?
I just had a mentor meeting earlier today that is helping me with my pitch with
Oh, good.
10 to 12 words because I'm like, I'm doing.
Yeah.
um, uh, I came up with one super, like, briefly, like, really, and I'm like, oh man, I have to redo it. I put down, I help women create boundaries and trust themselves during life's biggest transitions, which is another thing that Lori was talking about.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh man, I have to really,
Mm-hmm.
um, what is it that my mentor said? To go down and do subset. Like,
Yeah.
what does that look like? What does the transition look like?
Look like,
Because
yeah.
I focus on women that transition out of the military because I'm a veteran.
Oh,
So
my son-in-law just retired from the
yeah,
Marines a month
yeah.
ago.
So that's a huge transition going from
Mm-hmm.
military
Yeah.
structured organization to the civilian
Yeah.
space, and that's what I do every day. I
So
also help
why don't you speak to that? That's very
that
specific.
it's very specific, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I also help women transition in, like, becoming a parent for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe they have multiple children, and how do they set boundaries when
Mm-hmm.
being a parent?
Yeah, so there's somebody I know that she's amazing at messaging, and she has this phrase. She says, "Pick one and work it."
Yeah,
So, and she has this picture of a coach standing at a grocery store in front of all these vegetables, and they have signs like um, "Work on a funnel," "Work on a workshop," "Write a book," all these different things. It's more like, how we try to take all these different programs and do all these things at the same time. But you could look at it like with your niche, parents and boundaries with kids, or women who are coming out, transitioning out of the military, or all the other transitions that are out there. And when you try to message to all of them, you're going to get fewer people. If you just pick one and work it. And this was a big lesson for me. I had to, even with when I started working on helping women to speak with confidence, it was still too broad. And then it ended up being coaches. And then it ended up being running events, because you have to speak when you run an event, and now it's like workshops in particular, like more and more and more and more specific. Even when I talk about hosting a workshop, the more that when you pick one thing and work it, you'll find out there's so many other things even deeper underneath just that one thing that you can pick. It's just incredible. So I would challenge you to do that. Like, I love what you just said about women coming out of the military and figuring that out. That would be, because what you're going to find if you just specifically dial into that one and become known for the coach for women coming out of the military, you're going to be the go-to person for that, because most coaches are general. And those particular women are going to be looking for the one that understands them, because you've been there and you're specifically speaking to them in that particular kind of transition. Think of all the things you talk about with that transition as opposed to just a transition out of a normal career. It's going to be different. So that way, in that, you will still attract, like Lori was just saying, she attracts people outside of maybe what she messages, but you'll probably still attract in there parents. They're going to be parents who want to know how to set boundaries with their kids, you know? So pick one and work it. I think that's the word of the day, the phrase of the day. Pick one and work it. I love it. She even created a song. It's hilarious. Well, thanks for sharing that. You guys are awesome. I hope that you will come to my event. We're going to dive into this and more. And it's super interactive and fun. And there's prizes that we give out, and there's speakers, and we do a lot of implementation together. So, especially if you're wanting to run workshops, and make it a system in your business that, because I've been doing them for 11 years and it's my primary way of attracting clients. So I've learned a lot about how to do that well. And so you'll walk away from that event with a plan, a dialed in offer. Your messaging will be clear, and you can go out and start running that workshop. So it's free. There is a VIP upgrade of $47. You get recordings and extra bonus master classes and stuff like that. But anyway, I will find you guys on LinkedIn, and or you find me. And I also have a Facebook group called Coaches Who Speak. Love to have you join that. You guys probably came from Alignable. That's where most people come from for the Speakeasy Cafe. So I have the same name in Facebook as the group in Alignable.
What was your Facebook group's name?
Coaches Who Speak. Also
Coaches Who
in
Speak.
in Alignable, I have the same group called Coaches Who
Okay.
Speak. That one actually has a ton of coaches in there. But anyway, thank you all for coming. Love what you guys are doing, and hopefully this was helpful for you today.
Thank you. It was helpful. Thank you so much.